live, and I always doubt it, especially since, welcome everybody. It's Tuesday. It means I got to hit a lot of buttons to get everybody on screen. Hee hee. So, in the delay, you'll get to hear me repeat myself a couple of times. If you don't know, now you know. Let's see here. My name's Tori. Hey guys. If you're just getting here, welcome. I do a little diddly. I like that. I guess I'm gonna say diddly. I do this little thing called Tuesdays with Tori, and here I go to. Oh no, we're having trouble on Instagram. Whatever. We're gonna post this to P3 and go. Okay, yay. Welcome. This is the stream that I started because I realized there was a lot of people that maybe had questions because I had questions. So now that I'm done hitting on the buttons to make sure we get on live, we're having a sip, everybody. Welcome. So this is my show where I talk about, I guess, what I wanted to talk about for the week. Originally, this started. Anybody who doesn't know me, hi. Hi, I'm Tori. I started this little platform because I had done 8 years in, what do we call this space? Adult retail, health and wellness, sexual wellness, all the things, pleasure products. I did lube. I did personal lubricants for about 8 years. And that kind of just blew my mind, as well as working in the very, I guess we'll call this niche adult retail industry. And it's growing and it's changing. And I thought I would comment on it because there is a lot of people that are either trying to get into the business here, trying to figure out how to adapt, what changes they need to look forward to or they should be looking at. Because, unless you've been living under a rock, it's been a little bit of an interesting year so far. I digress. So that being said, I was like, well, I guess maybe I'll just stream. It started really, I'm just supposed to be streaming on a P3 page, which is the Pleasure Professionals page, where I think most of these viewers come from. Hi, everyone. And in doing that, I was like, hey, let's have a little, oh, my Heather, right? One of my people that inspire me to just kind of keep this going weekly. And make it look easy, but also I got a 9 to 5 and I know all of you do too. So I want to share this with you. If I learn anything, I want to share it with you guys. If you guys have questions, if there's something out there that you want to talk about, if there's a guest you want to see, let's do it all. Also, I'm really excited because, yay, my comment thingy worked. So thank you, Heather. I feel like this is a pleasure adult retail conversation, platform. And it's also a Tori's learning how to be a streamer, right? 101, because you can make all the mistakes with me. It's super fun. Like my Instagram's still not streaming, so we'll figure that out. But I finally figured out how to get my liveness on P3, even though it's slightly delayed. So that is huge. And welcome. So today's gonna be a little bit different. If you're just coming, hello, I'm Tori. This is Tuesday Tori, where I ramble about things that I've learned in the adult health and wellness space, specifically adult retail, and to condoms, lubes, and other commodities, because they're super, super important for business. So I talk about that sometimes, but also how to help any other, adult businesses out there. Today's different. And I had mentioned that because today, it's a live show and it's an authentic show. If you're just tuning in, welcome. My dogs could bark, a kid could call and cry. You never know, because this is what it is, everybody. But embracing the authentic show. Oops. Why is it mad at me about things? Leave that alone. Eek, I'm touching things. Don't do it. No, discarded. I don't want to edit anything. Yikes. Okay, I'm not touching it. Without further ado, it's a little bit special today because I like to go on live, because if anybody has any questions, I can kind of get to them right in the juncture, or if someone has a question and maybe I have a guest on, I can answer that question. But today's a little bit different because I wanted to make sure I had a great caliber of guests for anybody in the ether, as I call it. Oh, let me do my dramatic as I speak into the ether, which is my microphone. I wanted to make sure I could get a better caliber of guests, or, let's face it, people that wanted to chit chat, because I work at home most of the time if I'm not on the road. So sometimes it's nice to be able to use my platform as like, oh, hey, coworkers, come talk to me. Yay. But because not everybody can make it exactly at this time, I guess this is because I named my show like something about Tuesdays. So now I'm committed to doing something on Tuesdays. I was able to figure out how to do a pre-recording. Yay! So if there's people maybe in a completely different time zone that want to get on, that maybe you didn't reach out to me because you were like, oh, I don't want to do the live thing, I figured it out. So today kicks ass because one of my favorite people, Kris Kay from Storerotica. I'm not sure if anybody here maybe knows that dude or not. I figured it was a good time to kind of bring up some of the topics we ended up talking about. It's funny. I had a whole other show to pre-record with him, which we'll do that show because I think it's important, especially with some of the trade shows, the A&ME show coming up. I know Storerotica Awards were just sort of announced for a lot of people in the industry. So we'll talk about that. But because he's just a smart dude, he's been in the industry for about 25 years, something like that. I don't know. I'll let you watch the episode. It really just became like, if you're a fly on the wall, listen to Tori and Kris rant about the past and how we think things are going and how maybe we can support. So I have learned the funness. Oh, yay, Crystal. Oh my God. We gotta like, can I get you on the show? And then I'll be an excuse that you actually like, we have to like, we'll book it and we have to like, cause I know we keep saying like, let's have a FaceTime, a patio chat, but then like you have pickleball and then I attempt to do things like this and it gets real obnoxious. And also, will I see you in July? The important things. Ooh, look at my comments are working. Oh, I got another Crystal. Yay. Yeah, let's figure something out. Will I see you in July? Who will I see in July? I can't even fathom that it's like June right now. So if everybody is going, or if anybody is going in July, do let me know because we can plan a hello, a beverage, a pickleball, Crystal. No, you're not going. I have words and I have feelings about this. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. Where can I appeal? Just kidding. So I have Kris Kay and you can listen to our fun conversation. And I think I figured out how to play my recording here live and I'll still be over here. So if there are questions you want me to make sure get over to the Kris or questions I need to make sure I write down. So when we actually do the episode that I had planned about using media, right, as an outlet, I know you too. It's this is the nice part about having my show, Crystal. I could just do whatever I want and eventually show you the interview that you came to see. Bailey! Oh my goodness, guys, because I'm starting to plan my life out. Bailey is going to come on. Wait, I have a calendar and I can tell you which day. It is the 18th. It's like a spoiler here. The Miss Bailey from Dick and Jane's Naughty Spot. If you don't know, now you know. She's gonna be on. They, I'm assuming a pronoun here, but she recently posted, I believe it was 10 years, 15 years, something crazy, working at Dick and Jane's. And I think that should be celebrated all the time. So she's gonna come on. And I love me having a store manager or any sort of retailer or whoever on the floor. I grew up on a different sort of sales floor, but manager was pretty much my lifeblood until I moved over to this place with the lubricant and then now the condoms. So we'll geek out about some like, hey, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about, Bailey, but we're going to celebrate you and it's going to be awesome. Oh my goodness, she says 6 years. Well, I feel like since our industry moves so fast, 6 is like 12, right? It's like gay years. Luke, what are you doing? We got to catch up too. Well, I see you in July. Strange times. So yes, I'm gonna stay on. Look at this, it's cute. Crystal says hi to Luke. Crystal says hi. I feel like this is grade school where I'm like, what should we call it? Passing the note from my friend. Like, would you like to go to the dance? Yes, no, maybe. Little delivery person. Okay. Tacos. When do we start talking about tacos? But about it. Is this like Tuesday tacos? I miss all of your faces too. Look at this. I figured out comments and now people can communicate via the ether, which is just the comments of my show. Okay. here we go, people. I did a whole interview with Kris, and he's so much fun and adorable, and I hope you enjoy it. But I could mess this up, so let's find out. So in theory, I hit this like video file thing, and then I can share my stuff. And it should see, so I'll just start the recording, and then we can add things or remove them wherever we see need. And then if there's more stuff you want to talk about, because you got to go do your stuff, and that's more important. You can just splice it back together before Tuesday if you want.
Does that get a reflection? That gets a reflection.
I hate when that happens.
I know.
Because like there's days I want to wear my glasses and I'm like, you can't because it's blue light special, which is important for the eyeballs.
It'll look more studious.
But it really makes for not streaming.
We won't we'll talk business. We won't just do our normal Kris and Tori just like.
Well, but like part of the show is the business. It's a sprinkle of business, right? But like Kris and Tori, because then all of a sudden, I don't know. I think that's the fun part, or at least the interesting part.
That is the fun
for
part.
Me.
Yeah, duh. We're charming people.
We're charming, and this is where I put the intro in later. I'm saying things for my notes for myself. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we did the intro and the blah 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 blah. But yeah, hey, Kris.
Hey, Tori.
Thank you for coming. We finally figured it out. I was thinking, I was like, oh man, it felt like just like a week ago. We were like, oh my God, like just waving at champs for a minute. And I'm like, fuck, it's like May 22nd now. Like it's in the 20s.
Yeah. There's so much. And this is the busy time, like that was nothing. The spring is nothing compared to the summer and the fall that we got going on. So
right. We need a busy June.
Exactly. Now is when I turn extra grayer, in the
extra silver fox time.
Yeah. I was told that it's becoming.
No, you know what? It's a good look on you.
I appreciate that because it's really coming in here, and I've been telling my wife that I want to diet, but she is just like, no. She's like,
no. I bet she said no. That was a big no, Daddy, do not.
Yeah, just like that. That's exactly
how is she and baby? Everybody's good.
She and baby are doing well. The baby will be 5 months day after tomorrow.
I feel like if I'm really cool, I should go find our whatever from the All Lubed Up show when you guys were both on.
Oh, I know, right? That was
bring a little reel in the middle here if I can figure out how to edit things. That was so much fun.
Did that work good for you?
It worked really good for us. I don't know. We love the banter. Well, and at the time I was doing the show with Ryan too, so it's kind of perfect having like an industry couple and an industry couple.
Yeah. That was when she was in the industry. She just got her master's, and by chance she got her degree. She knew some people that were hiring at a private practice here in Tampa, and she went. She didn't struggle. She went, got a degree, graduated, got a job lined up. She starts that today. So yeah, she is a full-blown psychotherapist.
Man, she's a full-blown grown-up now.
Yeah, she's got that.
I'm so happy and proud of her, but also I'm like, lame.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the non-adults, okay.
It's interesting because in this profession there is so much either inherent drama or drama that you just make because we are dramatic people with a dramatic
I wonder that it's like, am I so far down the rabbit hole that I just assume, right, like the relationships and the chess game and the growing business and the fun strategies, or right, the drama is just our industry because we haven't been legally around for more than really 50 years compared to the other business that have like figured this shit out 200 years later. But also, I could just be too far down the rabbit hole. Does this happen in other industries?
I don't know because I don't know any other industries. Myself. It's all I've known. You become like Brooks in the Shawshank Redemption. It's just like, I'm going to get out.
But oh my goodness, good reference there though.
Right, like if I get out, what am I going to do? Like this is something that I've been doing since I'm 46 now. This is something that I've been doing since I was 22, 23. I started in college in retail.
Like how many phases of your life and this industry like have you like gone through?
Exactly.
Like, it's almost like I can only imagine.
When I graduated college, I was in this industry technically, like retail. Well, retail is one thing.
No, it counts. Ryan's a fascination.
It totally counts.
So yeah.
No, it totally counts. And that's something, like I find poetic about like what we do is that I worked in retail. I know what retail means. And you know, it's not like we're any better or any special than other people that just come into the industry that just go start working for a vendor or a distributor or whomever. But like retail, you know firsthand exactly what, for us, what we're talking about, how we're presenting it. And, you know, the retailers are lifeblood, and they're the people like literally like, in the trenches.
No,
So
and it's been hard. I know people think e-com, yeah, e-com's going to be there, but retail's never going to go away.
no,
It's
it's
always going to
not.
come back. Like
It's
people
not.
can't just live at home on the internet all the time.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's something that we always talk about, you know, like when we have retailers call us, because there's a sense, what you and I were just mentioning, there's a sense of anxiety lately when it comes to certain aspects of retail. And I'm just like, look, I'm like, retail in whatever form or fashion, whether it was, you know, once booming, you know, say maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago when we were really like in an upswing.
Ah, the 2010s were good.
Yeah.
Raven and I were just talking about that. She was on the show last night where it was like, yeah, that was like, not was it just good that like, you know, after the whole 2009 crash and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
like it was some of the best times for change and innovation, and people were
Right.
hiring, and the business was like, oh, getting a little less stigma-y.
Right.
And
But
now,
even though, I remember back in 2009, there was like a sense of, oh, we're going to weather this storm. You know, like, okay, so I got in the industry in 2000, give or take, like late 2000. And I started at Fairvilla in Orlando.
shout out to Fairvilla.
Shout out to Fairvilla.
Amazing store chain. I think they just put orders in we met this morning. I love
Oh,
everybody
really?
there. They're so
They're
sweet.
amazing.
They're so sweet.
I mean, they are, you know, I think AVN, to borrow a line from my competition, I think AVN once called them the architects of adult retail in their magazine when they did a profile on them back in the day. But they really set the stage of like,
yeah,
how
I'd say
modern,
retail, like boutique retail.
You're right, exactly. Not
Yes,
chain retail,
100%,
boutique.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was really like my, you know, that was my finishing school, my training.
That's a good place to get polished.
It's amazing. It's amazing because we learned a little bit at, you know, they have it's a department store, you know, and there's sections. There is the Pride section, there is the video section, there is the lingerie section, there is the toy section, and you know, I think
they for a while they had my lube cocktail counter. It was so much fun to build that for them.
Yeah, and what was great was like it was the evolution. So like in 2000, you were getting like the last vestiges of video. But that was still really good. You know, most of the first floor of Fairvilla was all video, and that's where I worked.
Yeah, DVDs. Oh, and
Right.
even still when Ryan was working, and this is I don't know, 2007 to 9, 10, right? Even though Fascinations floor was still half videos. Like it was, you know, it was great when a new one came out because he was making commission that day.
We made commission, and we had movies come in every day. And we had an influx. I mean, I used to joke about this, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way, but the way that Fairvilla worked, because we had product come in every single day, and again, the primary product of that time was video. I used to liken what I did, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It might sound bad, but what I used to liken it to was I was like a porno drug dealer. Meaning that after a while, people would come in. They knew that I worked there. They knew our schedule. So they would just say, hey, Kris, I need this, this, and this, and this, because these people were fanatic about their adult selections, their movies.
Well, and then they were fanatic about you. Like I even had them before I was in adult, right? Then I would have been the panty pusher, so to speak.
Right.
Or the panty drug dealer, because now, I mean, husbands, they were my favorite when they're like, okay, I'm in the shitter. What do I do? But then like, you know, I had my rotation of people that would come in and be like, all right, just do all the things. Thank you. Bye.
Right. Well, the fandom around adult content back then, because there was no internet, was really fascinating. You had your regulars that came in as if we were a bar, and you knew exactly what they liked. You knew exactly who they were looking for, whether it be stars or studios or what have you. And we would literally get the either the VHS or the DVDs into the back room, and we would process them. And then they would go on the floor immediately by, like, say, 2 or 3 o'clock. By 3:30, all of our regulars came into the store. And they knew exactly what was coming out that day, because at the time, remember, AVN was like this big, you know. I mean, you want to talk about money.
Again, you didn't trust the internet, even if you had access to it, right? So this was a quarter's worth of
Right. So
spank
like the release
material.
date was a big deal. So, and like AVN was something that they believed in.
Or like when albums used to drop, like on
Right,
Tuesdays
exactly.
when we'd all buy records and albums, and it's like now it's I get books still do that, so I get excited on Tuesdays. But yeah.
Exactly. So we saw that happen. And then slowly but surely, we started seeing that phase out. And then what was happening was as much as I started learning more about like the adult studios at the retail level, and guys like Frank Kresge and East Coast and like all these big video guys, then we started learning about toys. And I remember my manager, his name is Wade Ork. He's now the CEO of Fairvilla. He was telling us how toys are really going to be the future. And at the time I was like, no, like this is what we're doing, like everybody loves this. We were seeing guys come into the store and some couples and, like ladies and what have you, like single women. But we were just like, for the most part, this is still going to be, an adult video store.
Yeah. Like, no, everybody's watching porn, but they don't want anyone to know. Yeah. This is how you do it.
Right. And, there was the internet that was happening, but we weren't really taking it seriously because of course there wasn't high speed and what have you.
No high speed, listen to the dial up, or you got like 18 million pop-ups.
Right, exactly. So I think they were setting us up because again, they knew what was in the air, and little did I know at that time, but they knew that there was going to be a sea change happening. And with that over time, it seemed like it happened all at once, but it didn't. How we started seeing the video section, I should say the footprint of the video department on the floors getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They went from
like 40% shelf space or market share, I should say, like of your retail store to now maybe it's 5 on a good day. Maybe. Although I have seen, I will say, my last couple of tours of the Southeast, because there's interesting laws going into place, especially around like Pornhub in Mississippi. Like, I guess you can't access it at all.
Right.
Starting to see more retail space being dedicated to that.
That's the funny. See, everything is cyclical. So
we'll talk about this. This is how you adapt. Like, okay, so I want to hear more about this. This is great. You had to adapt to the. I'm sure that was a big chunk of revenue and space that all of a sudden. How do you adapt when people are talking about toys are going to be the thing?
It was hard enough for us to swallow the fact that toys were going to be like the main breadwinner, after a while. But it made sense because you could sell $100 vibrator, and that takes up 3 or 4 rentals, because rentals at the time were only like $3 or $4 per piece. So we were much more interested in selling toys. And the salespeople, if I remember correctly, the toy section, the majority of the toy section was upstairs at the time. So we had salespeople dedicated to just sell toys, and they were working on commission too. And that's what was happening at Fairvilla, and I would like to think that was happening in mass all around the country with adult retail at the time. Was that?
Well, yeah, it's been obviously a global shift since. So you guys either caught on or were the first.
Well, it might have been. Yeah, it could have just been a happenstance that we started doing the same thing. But what we were seeing was that.
Well, you guys were the architects, so I guess we'll say on this show here, because it's mine. We'll say, hey, we haven't done the research, but the architects done. They did it first.
Well, we knew what was happening, and we started to realize that the customers that were going to be coming into the store from then on were going to be couples and females, and that's what we really focused on, and that's what Fairvilla did well back in the day. Was they knew that the future of adult retail, and I use this. I just spoke to NPR. I did an interview with them a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Well, what is the future of adult retail?" I'm like, "Well, the past, present, and future of adult retail should always focus on female customers." And we're seeing that now more than ever, because of course the male demographic, they can kind of be, they can set aside their time for the internet or what have you.
Well, and I don't think it's news. Like, you could grab any Nielsen report out there in the last 25 years and it will identify whatever your product is. The shoppers are the females.
Right. Exactly. Females, female consumers, couples, making your store centric around a softer tone, because the days of red neon and kind of the tawdriness of what this industry was founded on are
being approachable is very important.
Right. I mean, you could make a museum piece about how it used to be. But the funny thing is, and I know we're really jumping around here, but the funny thing
that's
is,
okay. It's good stuff. We'll use it for something later.
Right. The funny thing is that what you'd mentioned is that this industry is first generation. We're still like in the very, 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 very early stages of what
No, we're just starting to see some of those, as I call them, the founders or the veterans, right? Either retiring or unfortunately passing away, things like that, or selling, like is what happened to Paradise. Somebody running businesses for over 40 years.
Elliot Schwartz from NAS Toys called me this morning. And he's the best. And he's
the best. I always have to he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's one of the dudes.
We were talking and offhandedly I said, we're planning these awards in July in Burbank. I'm like, I don't know if I have everything to give you because I've given you everything. You've won everything. You've been in the industry for this long. And he was like, I know. He was like, I've been in this industry for 50 years. He was like, he's like, what did he say? He's like, I just got a legend award or a legendary award, something. They gave it to him because, guys like Elliot and Teddy and Ron Braverman and Susan to an extent. Of course, I don't want to, make this.
There's a wide net. We're just mentioning a few. Yes.
Right. Exactly. Like Dennis, Paradise, there are these people that have been around for decades. And now you're seeing, the kind of the almost second generation of not only vendors and distributors, but retailers happening. And there's this sense of change that's happening, but there's also a sense of everything is cyclical. And there's always, as going back to what we were saying, there's always going to be retail in some form or fashion. It's just a matter of how you adapt. And much like what we did with Exotic Dancer, our other publication, our parent company.
By the way, that is what the ED publication stood for. And I just learned that today. You might have told me, and I totally because I just always think of you as Storerotica in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the funny thing is that most of the time, all day today, I have just been working on our other publication, Exotic Dancer. It's been the only trade publication for the adult nightclub industry for 30 years. And
it is still the only one, right?
It's the only one. Yeah. It's the only one that XBiz won't try to
which makes you the best.
Yeah. But it's there's a lot of competition when it comes to the adult space when it comes to trade publications. But when it comes to clubs, we're the only one, at least in North America. There might be another publication in Europe somewhere. But in terms of adult,
that would be a whole other cool show. Write that down. Talk about the clubs. I think that's a space in retail that's kind of merging, right? I think our mutual friend Dino, the expose guy, he's a club and a store, and he's killing it.
He's got a store in his club. Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful way to go because there's cross promotion there. But you can see with either the clubs or the stores, there's one difference that's happening is that the consumers that were coming in, whether they were shopping at a store or going to the club, those consumers are not coming back. And there is a change in the topography of what the retail landscape looks like or what the club landscape looks like. Meaning that I can give you examples where guys that used to go to the club, and I'm talking guys my father's age that used to go to the club in their 30s and 40s, they would come. This is maybe
kind of after work, cigar, meet the guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the heyday of the adult nightclub was the mid 90s, right? So you would have guys that come in for business meetings. You had guys that came in 3 or 4 times a week. They would spend a couple bucks. They would get some beers. They would get some dances. They had their own favorite dances. Those are the kind of consumers that the clubs relied on. Much like how the stores relied on those guys coming into the store, 3 or 4 times a week, getting their latest movies. We're not seeing that now because, and not to sound morbid, a lot of those customers are dying off. They're just older and they're not coming back. And, a lot of them are
it's a generational shift.
Are finding that thing. Yeah. And then
that's a very interesting concept.
It is. Well, I mean,
you just kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, I hadn't thought of it that way. Cause I'm always, you're right. The number one thing I'm hearing, at least on my side of retail too, is we don't have the traffic, right? We don't have the foot traffic.
the chemistry of what makes a great regular come in, whether that's a regular at the club or a regular at the store, is that's all changed. You just can't think of what it will take. And now what it takes, I think, at least to an extent, is that you have to, whether you're a store or a club or whatever, what you have to do now, before all you had to do was put up a sign or sell porno or whatever you want to call it, or sell titties and beer, like we talk about it. The days of selling titties and beer
or head cleaner
are gone. You can't do it, So you have to make your location, again, whether it's a club or store, whatever, is an experience. You have to make it some place for a couple, females, whatever, to go to. Younger generation too, like men, like young men. My brother-in-law is 27 years old. I invited him to a club last week because we were doing a function, and I was like, hey, you're in town, come on to the club. And he was like, you know what? I don't go to clubs. He was like, it would, not that it makes me feel weird, but it's just not my thing anymore. There are more, consumers like that who are being
27.
27.
27. He's not even middle-aged yet.
Exactly. When I was 27, I was hitting every club in South Florida that I could. I mean, I was blaming it on work, but I still wanted to go. You
were still being social and yeah, you were not like, no, right? Yeah, I get you.
Exactly. So now it's like, if I'm a retail store and I'm wanting, customers to come in with their discretionary money, I'm just not competing with the other store down the way. I'm competing with Topgolf, and I'm competing with the movies, and I'm competing with the restaurants, and I'm competing, it's like the
You're
sectors.
So wise. That's a brilliant way to put it.
Yeah, the sectors are merging because
we're not talking product for product. That's what are the competition we hear a lot about. No, right. It's where is somebody when they get off their screens, right? Because we're glued to our computers all day working in most people's lives. Right. What are we going to go do to experience the humanity?
Right.
Life.
Exactly. That's it. There is a human element that we always talk about in the clubs that that will never go away. And when when the pandemic happened and OnlyFans people started freaking out. Well, guess what? The OnlyFans customer is not the same as the club customer. They're totally two different experiences. Much like when showcasing. Remember a couple of years ago, everybody was worried about showcasing. People coming into the store and finding a product on the shelf, and then going to their phone and saying, well, I can buy it for this much, and then leaving and not spending anything at the store. Well, yeah, that's still an issue. I can't, I can't.
It's again, it's about adapting, not control. So how do you bring something to the table that you cannot on I'm just going to look at this on Amazon?
Well, how do you prevent showcasing? I tell retailers, well, what do I do? Amazon is just ruining everything. No, it's not. I mean, if you're going to give in and say, well, I just can't do this because Amazon is selling it at a less of a markup or whatever. I'm saying, well, what are you providing your customers when they walk in? Are you providing a store that can make them say, wow, I didn't expect this? The thing about retail, even back when I worked, was that they would walk into Faravilla and they'd be like, it's not.
You'd sweep them off their feet. They were so everything's brightly lit. Someone's not up their butt like a hey, what do you need? What do you need? But someone is approachable and knowledgeable.
That happened, almost organically. When I started going to porn stores at 18, 19 with a fake ID, and going to clubs at 18 and 19 down in West Palm Beach with a fake ID, it was like that. And we're talking, that was 1995. It wasn't that long ago. So we know
selling is fundamentally different these days. I mean, there's still some boutiques, and I definitely credit our industry with it, because it's
absolutely
someone is walking into your store because they want to be there.
Right.
So give them the experience, whether they knew what they were looking for or not. That doesn't mean, and hey, this has happened. The showcasing happens and then they can't get their stuff on Amazon because things get sold out or somebody gets taken down. Now they still know that you have that product. They'll still come back.
And they're just like, well, what does that mean? Do I have to hand a glass of champagne to every girl that walks in? Absolutely not. You're not a boutique, on Rodeo Drive.
No one's asking you to be Nordstrom.
No, exactly. No one's
expecting you to be figure out what you is.
But just do something that makes them feel like, oh, I'm going to come back. And whether that's through good customer service or through product education or just having a clean look, you and I probably both worked at restaurants in some time of our lives. The number one rule of a restaurant is a clean bathroom. The number one rule at a club, is a clean bathroom.
We all judge places based on their bathrooms, right?
Exactly.
How many conversations about airport bathrooms has everybody had?
Right. But when it comes to retail, it's like, well, what do? Have a friendly staff, have a knowledgeable staff, have a staff that doesn't seem intimidating to a woman who might be like in her mid-20s, has never bought a toy before, and is more nervous than she is excited, but she wants to do it.
Yeah, maybe invest in your people so they love your job, or you can pick the right people. So it's not work to them. They want to help this person.
The human investment will pay dividends to anybody, whether, again, we talk about this with the club.
Oh, again, that's a different show. We could talk about investing in your people, because I'm so surprised to see the shift that I'm seeing right now.
Right. It's just because the workforce is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like just the way that we conduct business.
But the government keeps saying, oh, there's plenty of jobs. No, we're not necessarily getting jobs in our field, but cool.
Not necessarily, and remember, we are a niche within a niche within a niche. So it's twice.
Yeah, you can't pull any report
it's 5 times
and have us there. Yeah.
And the fact that we're sexually oriented, there's always going to be that stigma, and there's going to be the fight that we can do it just a little bit tougher because we have to, because we're not a boutique that sells sundresses and jewelry or anything like that. That's tough.
Right. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right.
So yes, we're going to have our hurdles, but also we have at least in my opinion, the privilege of having a smaller knit group to build a business together with, rather than some people are inheriting 200 years of corporate bullshit.
Right. But it's something that we talk about, because I understand that this industry, as young as we are, there still needs to be some systemic change as a whole.
We have to adapt.
We have to adapt. But here's the thing. It's like we always talk about, having the future being female and catering to couples and doing all these things and making toys less phallic and making the packaging more welcoming and making it just a little bit less creepy. Like we start using terms like sexual health and wellness and stuff like that. And all we're doing.
But yeah, you don't want to, I get what you're saying. You don't want to exclude anybody. You want to include.
Right. We're softening what we did, because for so long, for so many decades, from the days of Ruben Sturman selling 16 millimeter reels of porno out of the trunk of his car in Ohio, to peep shows, to whatever, to the drive-in theater, there's always been the stigma. So we're trying to soften what we're doing, but there's really no roadmap. There's really nothing to guide us of what we're doing. So there's got to be change from all levels. And I'm seeing some of that, but some things have stayed the same. I think.
Well, and some things will work and some things won't.
Well, think about this. How many female CEOs do you know?
Not as many as I probably should.
Exactly. So we're still behind.
And I think less than at least one hand.
I can count maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And chances are
Susan's on that list.
Well, Susan's on that list. There's only one Susan Colvin. There's only one Bonnie Feingold.
I talk about that all the time. The fact that it took that long for a woman to start making dongs.
Right. But again, they're not paying me, but they should. Faravilla was started.
Hey, someday this show will be paid and I'll make sure you get the kickback. Okay.
Thank you. Bill and Sherry Murphy are a team, and they're the ones that created Faravilla. And Faravilla went from a twin cinema. Just to give you the history, they went from a twin cinema, like an old school movie theater, to the retail giant that they are today. And it's because, they had that female intuition. There are companies now that have female intuition. They have female leaders. I think,
but I'm sure that was a lot to lean into at the time too.
Absolutely.
Trust your gut. Dang.
There is still the struggle, and I'm not saying one is better over the other. That's an argument that I would never wade into.
No. But you're just saying hi, this is the society we've inherited.
Right.
So we're commenting on it to be better.
Right. There is a lot that we still need to do, even though we've made great strides compared to where we were even 15 years ago. But again, the other issue is that now there is more uncertainty than I've ever experienced before. There is a collective kind of simmering of trepidation that I've heard from retailers, from vendors, that we haven't experienced. Like whether we want to admit it or not, the pandemic was very, very good to us.
Very good. But it seems like we all planned very short-sightedly. Like we knew this was supposed to be whatever, the $800 billion business that whatever market people say this industry will be. But I mean, and I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know in businesses, but I don't know that we figured out what we were going to do after everything kind of settled down. And here we're at. On top of, I feel like the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of investment groups and more mainstream people coming into this. So it's like we saw a lot of change happen really quickly, and then people back off. And then it's kind of like, well, we can't just revert. We need a little bit of that and a little bit of this, but how do we figure out what's the right decision when we're all trying to keep the lights on?
Right. Well, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to be as ignorant to say that the pandemic was good to us. It was a horrible time. It was scary, and we were all,
still recovering. Are you
we're still
kidding me?
recovering. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is,
admit it, but I will.
Is that if we learned something from the 2009 crash, we learned something from the pandemic, and we were able to adapt. Lately, what I'm seeing is that the I don't know, the optimism, the collective optimism that I hear from my friends in the industry and what have you, both, like if I may talk about the clubs and the
oh no, that's why I like this perspective. It's great.
Yeah, like there is more of a sense of, well, we hope. There's I hear a lot of we hope it gets better. Like we hope this summer, because summers are notoriously slow for clubs. We hope that the summer.
Yeah, we were hoping for a good Halloween, a good Valentine's Day.
Exactly, and how many times we're like, oh, we're gonna wait for Christmas, and then Valentine's Day is gonna be a big deal, and
because traditionally it had been.
Right, it's not all doom and gloom, because traditionally it has been, and I think we got spoiled because it was, when the good was good, it was really good.
Oh, and I have to remind myself and other coworkers that it's like the fact that typical, like my launch sales cycle and buy-in with a new customer is like 3 months. Mm-hmm. Like that's still fast, and we forget that because we're a little bit smaller and we're all just like brainiacs of innovation. We can move quicker, but sometimes I don't think we give things a chance to take root because we're expecting results so quickly.
Yeah, no, we do. We are, we're an industry, we're a collective, and I think we're a society that is used to or have become preconditioned to instant gratification. Like it's at the ready.
I mean, I guess we are selling orgasms, so we like that.
And we are selling something that is typically abnormal. So it all has to do with adaptability. It's not because we can't do it or because we're going off a cliff. It's only because we haven't really faced it before, and we faced big challenges like the financial crisis and like the pandemic. We were able to bounce back now.
Right, the shift from home parties to more retail and less DVDs in your retail space. Like you had to fill that with something. You can't just have empty space.
And now, I mean, think about it. I mean, there's if you really want to dwell on it, there's so many things to worry about. There's there's the internet, and then there's big box selling now, more toys than ever before. And there's like the MSRP issue that we're going to be talking about in the next issue of Storerotica plug.
Or like MAP policies and all that fun stuff.
Oh, the MAP policies. Yeah. Like the MAP policy was getting so heated online that I asked our writer to write about it. And normally,
this is exciting. We'll get to read it soon.
Yeah, it's the issue's done. I believe it's in the mail right now. I haven't seen it. It hasn't gone back from the printer yet, so either this week or next.
I have to check online just because they don't come to my house.
They don't?
Well, I have tiny 900 square feet, so it's probably better.
That's true. So yeah, that'll be our June book. Pipe Dream is on the cover. But we do talk about that because you would be surprised what kind of feedback that we get from retailers. They never really want to go on the record, but when they're mad, they're mad. And which I mean is the point of media, right? You're supposed to be able to have different opinions and different sides of the argument, right? Well, that's what I told my publisher. He was like, well, why are we hearing about this now? And I was like, look, man, most of the time we do a good job and people are happy, people are making money and orders are being fulfilled and it's all copacetic. But when something happens,
you have to give them an outlet, and then Storerotica is a platform for that. Yeah.
So what I'm told is that these, some of these retailers, I won't name names, but some of these retailers went to the distributors, they went to the vendors directly and said, "Hey, what's up?" They weren't getting the answers that they were looking for. So I got a phone call, and then that phone call kind of like just coincidentally, I got 2 emails, and I got a DM on our Facebook page. So I was like, okay, there's
when the magic is happening in this industry, it happens, right?
Right. And no one's pointing fingers. No one's getting, no one's blaming anybody. They're just like,
well, I meant the magic of like, I don't know, that kind of game of telephone. And obviously you're in the seat you are in because it's something that needs to be discussed.
And normally we stay out of everything. We want to be Switzerland. We are more as years have gone on. When I started as their editor, and now I'm their marketing director. So as the years have gone on, I've seen what I used to write about, we no longer write about, because our magazine has really kind of changed into more of a catalog type format.
It's not news reporting, so to speak.
So to speak,
information, but yeah, you're right. It's more of it's a publication for product.
We've always talked about how we're just concerned about what happens within the 4 walls of a retail store. So whether you're selling the product or you need to know something about the legalities of whatever may occur, or the personalities that make this industry special, that's what we focus on. We never really want to try to stay, we always want to stay out of like anything news related, because we are a trade publication. We're not the New York Times, and it's really not in our wheelhouse. And, there are trade publications in this industry that want to do both, and that's fine. But what you're going to find there is that you can't, if you try to straddle both, you're not going to make anybody happy. If someone's going to be pissed off, whether it's an advertiser or a reader or what have you.
Isn't that like one of the rules of life? Like, you're not everyone's cup of tea. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy, even though it sucks. The Libra in me hates it.
Exactly. So you got to pick a lane no matter what. So that's what we do. But every now and then, we did this a couple of years ago and we got in trouble for it. Every now and then we'll put out a kernel of like, here's the straight dope. Here's something that's not advertorial. And I'm proud to say that we are advertorial. If you have a product and you want to promote it, we have a magazine. It goes to X amount of stores. We want to help you, and we'll write about you. We won't condemn. We won't condone. We'll just point the way. If you're a store buyer, here's this product, whether you know it or you don't, read about it in our magazine. Again, I digress. So this map thing had become something more than just simmering. So we wrote about it, and we got great feedback from retailers. Not so much great feedback from vendors. And I'm not throwing stones at vendors.
But
they don't want to go on record.
Well, and it was probably a shock almost, right?
Yeah.
To see it written like that. It probably take a minute.
Yeah, they're like, "Kris, I thought you just wanted to have you want to do like a product review." Well, of course, we normally want to, but like we also want to talk about what's happening with retail.
We also want to bring value. So if it's, if I feel like that is a valuable conversation for people to have different sources of information. So should be spoken about as well.
We have to talk about what's happening in the industry right now. And the salad days of say like 2012 and 13 and 14, and everybody was making money. My magazine was 130 pages. That was there
were 6 pages of Joe Lube back to back.
You're like, I'm gonna book like 6 pages every issue. And I'm just like,
what are you doing? It's like, I don't know yet, but I'll tell you. It's we got the budget. If I don't use it now, then the budget's gonna go away, right? Like,
I mean, like back then, the angry phone calls I would get would be like, "Kris, this one company,
there was a typo. This was the wrong image."
Yeah, well, the typos are one thing. That's always on me. That's egg on my face. But a company, you and I both know, that will take out 35 pages, full pages in the magazine and just be like, "Kris, what the hell?" Like, hey, they want to buy 35 pages, they can buy 35 pages.
Hi, I'm pretty sure we also make money here. So why would I say no, I'm not going to sell you 35 pages?
We are for profit. Yeah, unashamedly.
Maybe like what you do because, the whole work, until you're 75 and then maybe you have 10 good years to enjoy your life is BS. So yes, you should like what you're doing, but also we're here to make money.
Right. So we are making, we are making money now. We were making money then. But what I'm saying is that now that we don't have a single company, buying 35 pages of ad space, what that does do is that allows us to have the page space to talk about topics that are directly related to retailers. Talking about the people, on the vendor side or the distributor side, that's fine. That's great. I love personality pieces. But I really want to know, like, if I'm a retailer, I'm going to read Storerotica for a reason. That's because I need to know what's happening with this, that, and the other. So we're getting more towards that. And the way that we separate that is we don't castigate. We're not telling people like don't do this or don't do that. It's just the word on the street.
Nobody likes that, period. Like, hi,
Right.
We all lived through the pandemic. Did we enjoy weather? I don't need anyone's opinion, but nobody wants to be told to go get a shot or go do this or go stay inside.
Right.
Like, nobody likes it. You need to give them all the information and let them make a decision.
Right. We talk about that. Most of the time we talk about product because that's, lifeblood and that's what keeps us all here.
Well, yeah, but same like product, you have to have a diverse catalog of product, same thing. You have to have a diverse actual catalog of articles and other things.
Right. So that it has to reflect the times. The days I had, 130 page issues and everybody was making money, the magazine reflected that. The magazine now is probably, 99 or 98, 97 pages.
Well, yeah, no one has the patience for 130 pages, right? It's like send the rest of it digital. I got to copy and paste it later anyways.
Yeah. So it all goes back to like making the industry as current as we can and not bullshitting anybody because, people understand, especially people that work in the industry that read the magazine know exactly what's happening.
Oh man, a whole other fun topic. I have to have you back like quarterly, just, being transparent in your business and authentic. You don't have to give away, like you don't need to tell people what you're making on stuff and da. But there is a way to lean in even to your competitors, but absolutely be transparent about what's happening and what's not happening. Most of the time people are just like, great, that's what I needed to know. Can I get it in 4 weeks? Or do you see this happening? It's like, yes, I can do that, or no, I can't.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of good happening too. Like I'm excited about this next Burbank show. There is.
Oh, I'm always excited about the Burbank show.
Right. So, I mean, they went down to one show a year. So I think that'll help because another thing that we were hearing all the time now was like, there's too many effing shows.
There's a lot of shows in January. Yeah.
And as someone that only, we produce our own show for the nightclub industry. We did the Storerotica show for 2 years and it did exceedingly well. But even when it was doing really good, and this was 2010, and
I'm gonna like write out this timeline. This is amazing. This is like history lessons by Kris Kay.
There's so much happening within just like the last 15 years.
No, but it's so important because people like me don't know all this stuff, and it helps put the pieces of the puzzle together. Because those who don't know history are destined to repeat it.
Well, and see, that's another thing. And again, we're going off on a billion tangents, but it's
but I kind of fucking love it.
But there's really no. It's almost like we're like in a cave still because there really is no written history when it comes to this industry.
Which is a good and a bad thing, right? Like there's no standards, right? We just got an ISO standard for toys, but that is not like it's not enforceable, right?
But
unless you're a medical device.
That people that work in this industry, they're not familiar with what happened 15 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, they don't know the fight that people had like in the 80s and the early 90s.
Well, and not everybody wants to share that information for personal reasons. So that does get a little bit harder for somebody who does want to come in and invest or make a change. It's kind of you figure it out. We all did, which I don't always disagree with. I don't enjoy being a gatekeeper myself or like, I suffered, so you suffer. It's like, no, I figured something out. So I would love to teach you if you're willing, because we got shit to do.
But there's really no website or any kind of source material that if I'm starting in this industry, whether it's at a brand or at a retail level, there really is no reliable source.
Dude, maybe we should write it.
Well, see, that's maybe
we should write the book.
That's always been my thought is that there are, there's been topics, there's been articles written about, there's been stories talking about the history of this industry.
Yeah, I wonder if there's probably enough source material between trade publications and interviews.
We did a story about a woman who wrote the history of the dildo. or the vibrator or whatever. You know, and dildos go back to literally people like in the caves.
Condoms literally go back to people in the caves too. It's
Exactly.
disgusting. It was like a little animal membrane that you would stick in milk to wash. I'm like, ugh.
Sexy.
Real
There is history about the product, you know, and in fact, just again going to the club side, we just did a story because there was a documentary coming out about a woman named Carol Doda, and Carol Doda, Doda, is recognized as the first exotic dancer.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Even though their exotic dancing goes way back.
Oh, yeah,
but like in terms of like the first commercial exotic dancer at a club, it was the Condor Club in San Francisco. Carol is recognized as like the very first exotic dancer.
Trailblazer, yeah.
Right. So, and you know, and that's 50 some odd years ago. That isn't that long. But the retail side, there is no definitive history when it comes to the retail side. I mean, you can hear stories about, like I had mentioned, there's a gentleman by the name of Reuben Sturman, you know, and Reuben Sturman, you know, there's a lineage to Mr. Braverman and Doc Johnson. And then, of course, you can hear about Susan's story, and of course, you can hear about Elliot. And,
our book should include a family tree.
And Teddy. Yeah. So all of like these stories, you know, like it would make a great HBO.
Instead of like a map, you know, when you open an epic fantasy book, it's like the world of the map. We just have a giant family tree and like glossary, because some of these things you might not know. Yeah.
But it's just not there. That's how new we are. You know, we are still like with growing pains, literally, you know, I'm hesitant to say like what's going to happen within the next 20 years, because we're evolving.
Yeah, I'm anxious. It's like where we're going.
Yeah, we're evolving at such a rapid pace. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. You know, like this is 2024. I've been in it now for 24 years, and I never saw any of this coming. Who would have? But you know, like we're now think about it. If you told me when I walked into Fair Villa 24 years ago that eventually I could go to Target and buy the same kind of stuff.
Oh, I know.
You know, so on one hand, it's great because we're evolving. But
yeah, that's another thing I try to remind. That's like, oh yeah, such and such brand is here or catching on, so I don't want to carry them anymore. But I was like, no, that we can use this to your advantage. Like everybody needs more demand generation. Here's one: use their freaking $1 million marketing budget at Trojan, because Walmart will not have all these other SKUs they make. They just carry the same 2 SKUs in every other size. And they spend a shit ton of money on marketing. Use it.
Exactly. Let's look at the word boutique, because I don't know about you, but if I had a choice between shopping at Walmart or shopping at a corner store that sold like a grocery store, right? Like a local mom and pop grocery store.
Like a little bodega.
Right. A bodega. Exactly. 9 days out of 10, I'm going to the bodega.
Oh, 100%. My experience is better. It's less crowded. Everybody's friendly, fresher items.
And there's a uniqueness to it. There is a tactile difference between being sold at a big box store compared to being sold at someone at a store, whether that be retail or what have you, that is locally organic, grown, owned, what have you.
Yeah, call me a sucker. I still want someone to say, hey, did you find everything okay? Did you have a question? Even though those are horrible, you know, close-ended questions, and you should not be saying those in your retail stores.
Right.
I'm just saying I will accept the bare minimum. It's nice to, you know, go somewhere that changes, right? I found Walmart so freaking stale. Even though their stuff changes, it's the same thing everywhere, you know.
Yeah. I made this comparison to the guys over at the Stimulate show, another show that's happening, right? But I had this revelation last month with my wife. So it was Sunday morning. The baby was in a good mood. We decided to go out, and we went to our local farmer's market. You know, what you do on a Sunday, you go have brunch. Well, what we did on Sunday was we go to brunch.
Okay, what us middle-aged people are like, yay, that sounds like a lovely day when the weather's nice and everyone's in a good mood. Like, I don't know. We're still houseplants, even though we're humans, right? We need some sunshine, some air, some water, and some ambiance.
Right. So we're like, let's take the baby. Let's go to the farmer's market. Everyone loves the farmer's market, right? So everyone, it's like this, you know, it's like this trendy thing. So we go to the farmer's market, and it's in a place called Hyde Park here in Tampa, which is a it's a in the nicer part of town, if you will. It's upscale. And then we went to we hit 2 farmers markets, and then we went to the one locally. Here's my point. My point is like whether it's a fancy schmancy farmers market, that's for people that make a lot of money, or just a local homegrown farmers market like in our hometown of Safety Harbor, everybody is happy shopping at a farmers market. Right? You never see.
I don't see any of the
fights at
farmers market is like, no, the fights at Walmart.
Yeah, you never see people like haggling or just be like, oh my God, this is so expensive. Or just like the zombie walk that you see people in Target having. People love shopping at farmers markets. So like I was telling my wife, I was like, fuck. I was like, if you could bring this in a store, or it's like even this, go to a record store. I love going to record stores. I love collecting physical media. Go to a record store. People love doing that. People are happy in stores that are catered to them. A farmer's market is, hey, we're just it's a Sunday morning and we just
maybe this is for you, maybe it's not.
We popped up a tent and here's some jewelry that my grandmother made, or here, here's some fresh fruit, or here is like French bread. And
yes, I'd like my weird herbs next to my crystals and somebody, selling bread with mosaics.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some hipster, like playing really bad renditions of like Ed Sheeran, like it's just everything that
well,
Chicago
sometimes it's nice
song,
to see when trying to do something, right?
Yeah, it's like that Chicago song, like Saturdays in the Park, like everyone's having a good time. I'm not saying that, retailers should do that, but what they should do is they should make their store
an experience
with who they are. They need to separate themselves from the big box stores, from their competition, and make them who they are, like who are you? What is your purpose?
Target marketing does work. That could be another episode. Talk about niche and target marketing.
It is like it's hard enough nowadays to make $1.01 in this business. So if you're gonna do that, be as authentic as you can. Be weird.
Right. If you're gonna spend time and energy doing it, do it the way that you want to do it. Don't half-ass it.
Yeah. Be welcoming. Be a center for young people in the Pride community that have questions, that may not know where to turn to. Like give them something as well. Like everyone's got money to spend, and the discretionary money is dwindling because there's so many options now. So you got to
talk about this. I'm like, I don't know where people are spending money except when I go travel, like for work. I'm like, everybody's out doing stuff,
and that's another thing. If you're in a market that has, like tourists, cater to them. It's like all of these things now that we never really had to worry about, that we took for granted, 15 years ago. We can't do that now. And because there is so much competition, and because the internet is the internet, retailers, club owners, any proprietor that owns a business that you have to travel to, they have to make it distinctly their own, because consumers now have way too many options, and the power all lies with them. So you can't take them for granted. You have to go the extra mile to make them feel special. Whether they're selling a dildo, or a lap dance, it has to be more than just that.
No, you have to lean into your point of difference. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can do that, without spending a lot of money if you get creative.
Oh, another one of my favorite books, I could grab it here in a minute, is that the guys that the 1 Minute Manager guys, Ken Blanchard and somebody else, I forget. They do another little book, and they're just like tiny 150 book, but they have all these sales books, and it was Gung Ho. And the whole idea is that you basically, instead of spending $10,000 on a marketing campaign, you can get that same value just talking to people and handing out samples.
Yeah. Word of mouth is
way more valuable, right? Oh my goodness. I've kept you too long. Shit. I just saw this. You got to go. Don't you need to go?
God, it's 3:45. Shit. All right. We got to continue.
Okay. Bye. Just text me later. Go do your stuff. Call me tomorrow. Okay.
Let's do this. I can do it.
Isn't he adorable? Oh my goodness. Poor thing. And then he had to go and take care of his child and family and life. But I so enjoyed that conversation. Kris is just an easy guy to bounce things off. And obviously the entire episode that we were trying to make earlier didn't happen. So stay tuned, because the actual questions I was going to ask him about using media to your advantage, especially print media, didn't get to happen. But I had so much fun recording that with him, and maybe you guys got a kernel of something, or at least, you know, something to inspire you for the next week to come, at least until you can come see me next Tuesday. Anyways, that's the wrap. But because I amuse myself and I sell condoms. Ha ha ha. Cool. Reach out if you guys have any questions or you want to come on the show and, you know, try to teach me some better puns, because obviously I don't know them. Until I see you again, I'll see you next Tuesday.